Hello.
Well, hello.
How's it going?
Going well, my friend. How are you?
Good. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah. Happy Wednesday indeed. I'm happy because I finally got my fancy espresso machine back up and working.
Nice.
It had been out of commission. Some kind of phantom leak out of the bottom was happening. And so I was without cappuccinos at home for a couple of weeks. And actually, I do have something to plug. It's a relatively low-cost brewing method that works really well. There's this pour-over method called a Kalita, which I think it's a Japanese product. And it's one of the most approachable pour-over techniques. The equipment is pretty cheap. You just need like a good kettle and the little pour-over thingy that you put the filter in. And the Slow Bar app on the Apple App Store works really good for figuring out exact timing and how many coffee grounds to use and all that kind of stuff. So that was my fill-in method, and it worked pretty well.
I never got into pour over. I've been an AeroPress person for a while. Like once you start grinding fresh beans, you're good. And everything after that seemed like a little extraneous to me.
Yeah, I haven't done a side-by-side comparison with the easier, quicker brewing method to see if I could really tell the difference, but
sure. Yeah.
Well,
that's cool. Actually, I did a little experiment and quit caffeine for a little while.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, last couple of weeks. It was interesting. I tapered off pretty fast, did it over just a couple of days, and then went cold turkey. So I'm actually back on the caffeine train. I'm not honestly convinced it was worth it. So knowing I'm going to get some caffeine when I wake up is such a nice thing, to get me out of bed. Giving that up was a big loss, where it's just like, oh man, I don't have a thing to look forward to. And getting decaf kind of gave that that ritual feeling, but it wasn't the same. And honestly, I didn't notice that much of a difference. I think I napped a little bit more effectively. I found myself, I would come home from work and fall asleep at 6 o'clock or something pretty consistently, so I think it sort of exposed my sleep deprivation a little bit more. I may have been a tiny bit less anxious. I felt a little calmer during this period. I don't know if I was just, mastering my brain, or if that was just a caffeine side effect, or, pure suggestibility. But at the end of the day, I was just kind of I miss this. I feel like I'm denying myself a pleasurable thing that I haven't really noticed many downsides to. So
it's one of those things where there's an optimal zone to be in, and it probably varies from person to person depending on body mass and all those factors. But just the right amount of caffeine is a great stimulating impact and doesn't go too far. And then people are drinking multiple pots a day. That's probably doing more damage than good. And like you said, masking sleep deprivation, that kind of stuff. But I've known people who will have it down to a science on exactly how much caffeine is optimal for them. And sometimes they measure it in terms of a Starbucks lattes or something like that. And anywhere they go, the one benefit of that is you can find Starbucks anywhere. So they always know how to get their exact dose in. Yeah, I've never optimized quite that much, but
there is something interesting around caffeine that I think a lot of people don't know. Where I know a lot of people that will just drink caffeine way late in the day, or at 9 o'clock at night. And I'll always ask them, are you drinking caffeine? And they always go, oh yeah, but it doesn't affect me. I can go right to sleep after this. And an important thing to be aware of is self-reported sleep quality measurements are unreliable. So when you put someone in a sleep lab and you give them caffeine before bed and you measure the quality of their sleep with instruments, however they do it, caffeine totally affects sleep quality late in the day. It makes it worse. But if you ask people about their sleep quality, they don't report worse sleep. So your own ability to detect that you're sleeping badly is actually not very reliable. And so if you think you're one of those people, you're almost certainly not. I don't think there are those people. It's a stimulant. It messes up with your sleep. Don't trust your own assessment in this case.
Yeah. Never trust assessments for things that you were unconscious for.
That's a good rule. Yeah. Especially if you really like doing the thing. It's no, I'm convinced the thing. Yeah. As I say this, I'm noticing the applicability to myself. But hey, maybe I should measure my sleep during the next caffeine fast that I do and actually see. Because I felt like I was waking up a little bit earlier. So it seemed like maybe I was requiring slightly less sleep time because maybe the sleep quality was better. But I want to actually get some numbers on that.
Are you a Fitbit guy, or you use some kind of tracker?
I've used one of those apps on the phone before.
Yeah.
Where you put the phone in the bed. But I would like to try the Fitbit thing.
Yeah.
I don't want my phone in my bed.
Yeah.
It's no good. No
phones further from beds is probably a better thing.
Yeah, I charge mine in the kitchen. That's to me part of my going to sleep ritual is put the phone over here, it charges over here, and then it's just it's out of my hands.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about work.
Yeah. What's been going on?
Some good stuff. I bought a laptop and a monitor. Didn't really have a dev machine that was portable. I had like a little travel MacBook 12-inch that was good, but I want I decided it was time to get a real machine because I've been focusing more and more on dev stuff. And I've been writing code in Xcode, which is very Chromey. It's got a lot of buttons and screen real estate required. So laptop screen is not the best for it.
Is it not a viable option to really write Swift code in a lightweight editor? Like, do you need to use the IDE?
I think you can. I believe there were Thoughtbot people that used Vim, and there's I think a lot of the functionality of Xcode is available through command line tools. For now, I'm not worrying about that at all. There's so much to learn that I want the most standard setup, and hopefully later I can go back to happy Vim land.
Yeah, why not make it harder on yourself in the beginning,
Totally, yeah. It's already hard. It's like, what's nice though is like I've been in this spot before. I think if you don't regularly learn things, you can sort of forget how really painful it is in the beginning and like how dumb you feel and how slow you go and all that. But I think possibly one of my like useful skills that I've acquired over the years is that I've made myself a beginner in a number of fields enough. I've trained myself to sort of say like, there's so much I don't know about this, but that's okay. Especially Xcode, it's just like, I keep noticing all these little UI elements and I'll click that and it will pop open this thing and I'm like, what the hell is this? And it's got like 40 drop downs inside this and I don't recognize any of the words. It's just this huge, deep world and the APIs are huge. An important skill for me right now is just leaning on that. Like, it's fine. Yep, I don't know if that does. That's all right. Just keep making a little bit of progress and keep chipping away at it. And eventually it'll feel less and less intimidating. And the pieces that you don't know, you'll start to realize, yeah, I'm never going to learn that. And that's fine. Like I'm building myself a tree of knowledge to hang things on, and it's slow and steady.
Yeah, and I've had to have that same kind of mindset because I kind of threw myself into a tech stack that was 100% new to me. All these functional languages and principles that are quite different than what you see in Ruby land. Yeah, I've had to come to a similar conclusion where it's like, it's okay. I'm not going to know everything. And one of the things I really appreciate about kind of the Elm documentation and the guides and things is like, that is very much the sentiment expressed through all the documentation. It's like, don't worry about, even how this file is going to morph over time. Just keep adding to it and you'll know the right time to split things up or when to, learn an advanced technique or switch to a more advanced program type. But for now, just like start with the basics and keep layering on brick by brick, and it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Yeah.
I think Elm is doing it better than anybody. Like, I don't think I've seen a language with so much care and intelligent thought in it as Elm in recent memory. Maybe Clojure. Clojure also is great, although not nearly, it lacks a lot of that friendliness. Like, there is documentation, but it doesn't have that same sort of beginner friendliness. Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm upgrading my setup. I would have loved to have bought a MacBook without a touch bar, but I wanted the 15-inch and there was just no option for that. So physical buttons are great. Touchscreens have huge downsides. Like, I keep trying to rest my finger on the escape key and actually hitting the escape touch bar sensitive surface. And it feels so hacky.
Had you used a touch bar one before, or is this your first time?
No, first time.
Yeah.
And I'd heard all the reports, and so I was like, I'm pretty sure I don't want this. And then in practice, I was like, yep, this is worse.
Yeah.
It was better before.
I kind of wish I would have gone with it because I would like to have a little bit more power. Like, occasionally I get fans whirring pretty loud and things lagging a bit when I have like a lot of asset recompilation happening in the background, rapidly saving files and stuff. But I don't know. I'm still get to bask in my physical escape key. So
yeah, it seems like people are taking to buying the older ones, like 2013 or 15 or whatever it is. Like right before pre-touch bar was a good year, which is pretty sad. It's quite an indictment. But yeah, I wanted the new processors and whatnot, and not fiddling around with refurbs and things.
Well, hopefully the world's first $1 trillion company will find their way back on the hardware front.
That'd be awesome. I feel like it takes a lot to be like, you know what? This is just not as good, and we're going to go back to something else. I think I could see Apple doing that. I don't know. Who knows? I wonder what the mood is internally. Is a commonly held belief that like, hey, this is annoying?
Not just the touch bar, but also just the low profile butterfly keys have been such a headache for them, I think. They've had to extend the warranty. There's been all the class action lawsuits. And so, I don't know, they must be feeling the pressure, but I'm not sure how much they pay attention to that or if they kind of can rest in their comfort of massive piles of cash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who knows? So yeah, it's nice to get my setup upgraded. That feels good. Like I said, I've been throwing myself into macOS development, which still is a gnarly world to me. And it's tough diving into what feels like a smaller community. It seems like if you're doing development in Swift, you're probably writing iOS apps. That seems to be like maybe 10 to 1, the resources for iOS versus macOS. There's less out there. Like last time I said this, someone was like, no, you've got it wrong. There's plenty out there. But I'm still having trouble. Like I'm still like, where's a great tutorial that has the latest version of Swift and the latest version of Xcode? It's like in Ruby, like it feels like that's just everywhere. And there's tons of great options for that. And it's like, it feels like there are way fewer here.
I mean, in communities like Elixir and Ruby and Elm, there's quite a few people who are like independent content creators producing tutorials and how-tos, and some free, some paid. There's just a lot of people kind of interested in that. So are you finding most of the documentation you're reading is like official docs from Apple or?
Yeah, a good amount of that. There are some people that are making independent stuff. I found some things like that, but it doesn't feel to be like as much of the culture as other languages I've been a part of. We're making progress. We keep adding features to the app, and it's moving along, and I'm slowly getting up to speed as well. So
yeah, I remember we had talked a few weeks back, and I think you were debating on how deep on the technical stuff are you going to get? Are you going to stick in just the web land, or are you going to go into native? What was the thinking behind diving into native?
It's what we need right now.
Yeah.
It was just sort of like I could be working on marketing stuff, or I could be working on even like trying to close more alpha people. But it's just like we have money in the bank, we have a growing email list, we don't have a product, and so it's like this is very much the blocker. And so having 3 programmers instead of 2 seemed like a good thing to do. I had a little bit of an anxiety around like, okay, we have a product, and our core product I'm not going to be able to develop on. I won't be able to like fix any bugs or fix any annoyances, and it just felt like that was just a little bit too removed from the action for me. And that might be an immature way of thinking about it. I'm not sure.
I would feel that way too, but I don't know. There's different approaches you can take. Rob intentionally didn't know the tech stack, so he wouldn't be tempted to get into it. So I don't know. I think you could look at it from a few different angles, but
totally.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was concerned I would be like making myself a job I didn't like, where it's like, okay, if I don't learn the tech stack, then all I can do is the sales and marketing work or operational work. And it's just like, I don't want to do that all the time. So that played into it for sure.
Probably comes around to, if you're thinking long-term about what your role is going to look like, a lot of it has to do with what your ambitions are for the company. Do you guys want to stay small and kind of all have your hands in stuff? I think about like the Honey Badger team. I think that's essentially what they do. It's like 3 or 4 of them, and they just kind of, they all write code. Some of them do a little bit more marketing than others, but they sort of all have their hands in a lot of the stuff, and they don't really have a big team, but I think they are profitable and do pretty well. And, there's others who want to grow more quickly and scale out a team. And then you really need someone who's more of the CEO type, whose primary job is kind of recruiting and hiring and operations and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think it remains to be seen. That's something I've been trying to figure out. It's a strategic point for me for Level that I'm not totally clear on, that I feel like I need to be giving some thought to. Not too much thought because it's still early and I don't have to make decisions about that. But also I kind of feel like I have like competing ambitions where on the one hand, I want this to be really successful. On the other hand, I want to kind of be indie and not have too many dependencies and too big of a team and have to worry about paying, high salaries to experienced developers. So it's sort of an undecided point for me, but something I'm definitely giving thought to all the time.
I sometimes feel guilty about my tendency to change my mind on things, but I'm learning to appreciate it, I think. Where it's like, why stick with a decision if it turns out to be not optimal based on what you know now? So it gives me a little anxiety or a little shame or something when it's like, I said X and now I'm doing not X. But I think it's okay. That's part of the weirdness of having a podcast where I talk about what I am doing and going to do. Where it's like, if it were just in my head, then like if 2 weeks later I change my mind, who cares? But there's this weird phenomenon of all these people listening to us.
Right. But probably only a fraction of them are actually remembering from week to week what we committed to. So,
Oh, yeah. Well. I mean, yeah, I think that's true. No one called me out on my handstand video, for example. So
yeah.
I think people are giving us a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a really good call, by the way, a couple weeks back. It's from a company that, let's say culturally, they do a lot of pairing, like a lot. And so in a way are kind of our ideal place. And he was fairly high up in this thing, and they have a lot of developers. And the message was like, we don't think this problem is solved. We're very frustrated with the current tools. If you can solve this, and we think it's great, we have a lot of money. And it was just like, man, this is awesome. That like, if we can make it great part is a huge question mark. It was just like another good sort of affirmation of like, yep, there's a market. People want it. We're not just like doing a thing that actually is already solved really well by somebody else.
Yeah. When you have conversations like that, are you digging in on like, specifically in your use case, what defines great to you, so you can have clarity on like...
I try to, yeah. When I'm on my game, I dig into that, because that is the interesting part. It's like, why isn't this working? What do you need it to do? And that usually is boiling down to sort of latency, and like bugginess. Like there's just a lot of like getting the keyboards working correctly, getting mouse working well, having 2 mouse pointers, things like that. It usually boils down to just a couple things, which is a little dangerous because it means those things are hard, I think. I don't think other people are not trying.
Yeah, that's probably the area of highest risk, because it's the hardest challenge to solve. It's not like, can you make a UI that does things? It's like, can you get the bits moving across the wire efficiently? That's
real fast.
Tricky.
Yeah, for sure. And along those lines, we've been doing calls. We had a call earlier this week, and we have another one tomorrow. I reached out to 2 WebRTC experts just to do like a 1-hour call each to sort of get us like another like just like point us in the right direction, help us avoid some potholes, things like that. I feel good about it. Getting to talking to people that know what's up and saying like, here are the requirements of our domain and what we're trying to optimize for. Like which codec should we be using and how should we tune them? That kind of thing. It's useful stuff for sure.
Is there a lot of open source stuff that you guys can kind of pull in for the native stuff, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
The WebRTC itself is open source. So like we've pulled in that whole thing. We don't have a lot of dependencies at this point. It's basically WebRTC. There is a kind of RubyGems equivalent for macOS land, but there seems to be, again, a little bit less of a tendency to use external dependencies. These are my observations as a new person, so take them with a grain of salt. But it seems like people write a good number of their own dependencies. I don't know. We don't have a ton of code in our app as of yet. WebRTC is a big piece, and the rest is mostly us. We wrote an action cable client because we wanted to use that for communication between the peers. And there was not a good action cable client for Swift that worked for us. So we've been doing little bits here and there.
That's cool. And I imagine a platform like Swift has a very large standard library kind of baked in that interacts with the operating system. So that's probably why there's maybe a little bit fewer dependencies pulled in, because it's just so much baked into the platform.
Yep, I think that's true.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that's the big stuff for me.
Nice.
What's up with you?
Yesterday, Elm 0.19 was released, which was pretty exciting, because I've been kind of watching that evolve a little bit. And I knew that some of the priorities that Evan and the team had were improving performance on compilation times and on the ultimate like compiled size of the JavaScript payload using like dead code elimination, which it's funny, if you read the blog post, it's mostly kind of about the performance optimization stuff. And you can just kind of feel Evan taking a victory lap as he describes, how they were able to accomplish it, and how like Elm can do it in a very pure way where it can determine with certainty what code is actually never used and always exclude it. And JavaScript, it's always an approximation, or it's kind of like, was this module touched? And they have to do it on a per module basis. And that's where dynamic programming languages are very hard to optimize, whereas Elm with its static types is extremely optimizable. So the results are looking really nice. If you're like compare the real world app, which Richard Feldman has an implementation in Elm, Elm is by far the tiniest of the big, React, Angular, and Vue. So that's pretty exciting. I was noticing my own Elm bundle size growing quite large, and I think I have about 11,000 lines of Elm code of my own. So I can go now for a long time before payload size becomes a major problem for me. As soon as it was released, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a stab and see if I can convert over to 0.19 pretty quickly and just sort of be another, example case in the community of someone who's converted over, and kind of share my findings and stuff. And it's been fairly smooth. One interesting side effect of this shift was like almost all the packages that exist, well, basically all of them written for 0.18 are by default not compatible with 0.19 until they at least update their package files. And there are some changes to the standard library that, you have to make if you're using those functions. I only had maybe 4 or 5 dependencies, and I was kind of able to work around them or just vendor them in and make the changes as needed. And then I can submit those patches back to the original maintainers. So that wasn't too bad. But there was one piece that is going to take a little bit of time for me to figure out, but I'm mostly done with it. And so they closed this backdoor loophole that you used to be able to use to inject arbitrary HTML into the virtual DOM. And I think it was in the name of security, which makes sense. But I was using that for rendering SVG icons and for taking server-side rendered markdown for posts themselves and injecting them into the DOM. Now I'm kind of working through figuring out how to redo those things. But I think ultimately it's worth it for me to solve that problem now as opposed to wait, months down the line and then want to upgrade to 0.19 and have to tackle those problems as I'm trying to launch the product,
Was there like a recommended way of working around these things?
Like with the hack I was using for injecting HTML, I think it was like never the recommended path to use that. It was always like use it at your own risk type of thing. And I'm still kind of on the fence about whether I really want to invest a lot in doing all markdown rendering on the client side. I feel like there could eventually be a lot of logic around, I don't know, how to like highlight mentions and how to do just complex things with the rendered output, and pushing all that logic onto the client side feels a little bit suboptimal to me, but you kind of have to see how that pans out.
Do you ever miss working on a server rendered app?
It's still like taking me a little longer to implement, just like, I need to add a new page, and it takes me a bit longer to do it in the kind of the single page app flow as opposed to server side rendering. But I don't know, I still am highly enjoying working in Elm, and I have so much confidence in my code now that I think because of the characteristics of Level, it needs to be a single page app. So I'm really happy working in the Elm ecosystem, but it's a little bit different workflow for sure. Something I've had to get used to.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I'm very pleased with, is that Swift has a nice type system. It's featureful, and it's not quite as beautiful and pure as Elm. It doesn't take quite as hard a stance on some things that I kind of wish it did, but it's just nice to have, compilers. They're useful. And like the autocomplete that Xcode can give you, because it has all these type things, is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. So I've been spending a little bit of time migrating that. I spent most of yesterday and a good part of today, and I'm hoping to finish off most of the things I need to get it running. Like there's some tooling that's not quite caught up yet, like the Webpack thingy that will compile your code and help you assemble your JavaScript bundle. Like doesn't quite support 0.19 yet, but I'm sure it'll be, within the next week or so. So it is pretty bleeding edge, but I don't know, with a system like Elm, like normally I would be very hesitant to upgrade right away, but I just feel Elm's not going to break. Like they're not going to need to do a bunch of immediate releases right after to fix bugs. Like I'm pretty confident that it's thoroughly tested.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and those types give a lot of confidence too.
Yeah, totally.
It's badass.
Yeah. So
it's nice when someone else's work makes your thing better too. It's just like, oh, guess what? Smaller assets. Awesome. What'd you do? Nah, not that much. I mean, you're ending up doing some stuff because you're doing it so early, but people a couple weeks from now will probably just install it and go.
Yep. Yeah. So that was the big one, like the performance stuff. And there were also a number of improvements around the single page app workflow. There's some weirdness around having anchor tags that have hrefs, and if you click it, does it, force a standard page reload, or does it hook into the Elm URL change flow? And that was always a little bit of a weird thing in 0.18. And as a result of that, I've been using hash-based routing, which works fine, but sometimes it would be nice to have like the ability to craft a URL fully, like have the path and the query string fragment part at my disposal. And this basically in 0.19, it's now pretty feasible to go with the standard path-based routing. Like all the links just automatically now are intercepted by the Elm runtime and run through your update function. So I'm really excited about that too.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's like they make this release for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
How is development going, by the way?
It's going pretty good. Yeah. I'm still working through inbox stuff. This has been a little bit of a sidetrack doing the upgrade, but yeah, I'm feeling good about velocity and about my kind of new mandate to just get the MVP out as soon as possible. So, yeah, I'm feeling positive overall about it.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Anything else?
One other note. So I was brainstorming the other day thinking about how I can continue to share things with people who are on the list and people who are just kind of interested in what's happening with Level, kind of in addition to this podcast. I haven't really consistently been doing the other things like screencasting or publishing on my personal blog. And so I was trying to think of like different ways that I can, continue to keep people involved. And one idea I had was to just kind of start journaling each day, like, what did I get done today? And maybe it's not that interesting. Maybe it's just sort of talking about some piece of code that I wrote or some challenge that I had to overcome or haven't overcome yet. But I thought, that's probably relatively low effort. Like it won't take that much time to just write a really short post each day, at the end of each day, kind of summarizing what happened. And so I threw a Twitter poll out to see if people would be interested in that. And it was like overwhelmingly positive, like, yes, I would read that. Or someone proposed like maybe do it in an audio format as a like separate podcast too. So I think I'm going to start doing that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, the journal thing is nice. Like we've been using Basecamp's check-in feature where it's like, what are you going to do today? And it's been actually even nice for this podcast to be able to just flip back and see like, what was I working on? Because it's hard to remember, and it's just sometimes it's hard to be nice to myself, where it's like, are we even making progress? And then look back on a list, like, okay, we had to do all those things, and now they're done. So all right, we're good.
Mm-hmm. Like just setting the threshold at the level where like it doesn't really matter if I had that interesting of a day. I'm just going to write down what I did because I always, I'm working on stuff every day, but just not having to be concerned about like, is this worth writing about? That's sort of been my barrier to regularly publishing blog posts. It's like, I don't know, like, how do I summarize this in a way that's actually interesting or making some kind of point? And it's like with a journal, there doesn't really need to be a point. I'm just sort of talking about what I worked on. So,
yeah. Well, you and Rob published that podcast about, like the early days of Drip.
Yep. Yeah, we did.
And that was edited down a bit, but it was pretty, just sort of like dev journally. And I found that interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people gave us some good reviews about that. So
I bet.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you should probably tell people where that's going to be or when it is a thing.
Yes, I definitely will. I'm trying to decide if I should like spin it off on a separate blog. I don't want to spend a lot of time implementing it, but I also want it to kind of look nice and consistent with.
Please don't put it on Medium.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I was thinking
that pop-up, pardon the interruption. You know what? Go fuck yourself.
I know.
You have interrupted me so many times. I can't believe people are okay with that.
Yeah. It's like a major, I don't know. I guess when you opt into the Level ecosystem, you should have known that could happen. But I feel like they got so many people to use them and kind of benefit from the virality of publishing on there. And now they've just sort of like flipped the switch and tried to monetize heavily. And it's so annoying.
And then there's like a sticky top header sometimes and a sticky footer header. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. So please don't use that.
No, I won't. Yeah, I might just go totally static and throw it on in the Phoenix app, like just some static HTML pages, not overcomplicate it. And then I can, if it lives on my domain, I can kind of start to build up some authority with content in search engines and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, what about Ghost?
I have thought about Ghost. I just want to make sure I don't have to spend too much time like trying to get the styling to match kind of the aesthetic I'm going for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. I mean, static pages are pretty nice. I've just been noticing lately, like I clicked on a couple articles from programmer blogs and it loaded so fast and it was such a change from what I'm used to. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, like web pages can be fast. It's mostly text. So everything else you're putting in here is just crap. Oh man, the internet, let's stop making it terrible. We need a law that those cookie notices are illegal.
I know. It's like,
I was getting so pissed at these things. So I disregard laws that I think are stupid. And I think actually that's good. I think people should, like, petty, tyrannical, stupid laws should be ignored, I think. And like juries should refuse to convict people that are tried for these things. I think we should exercise our judgment because sometimes governments are dumb. And so I think if you post a site uses cookies notice on your website, you're a coward, and you should just accept, like, yeah, you might have some penalties, but like, let's not screw everyone, and like join the club and like screw those things.
Right. Well, especially if you're not in Europe right now, like, I don't know.
Yeah. But even if you are, like, come on, let's be better than this.
Yeah. Well, it was funny, shortly after the GDPR stuff, quite a few news organizations had like a separate version of their site that didn't track, had no JavaScript, and like was not tracking it at all. It was all static. So it was all like GDPR compliant because they're not tracking you at all. And those pages are just so blazing fast. Right.
Well, yeah, you can still do that.
I know.
I'm pro that. Like, yeah, let's do that part.
Yep.
Let's just make a good internet,
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I'm going to start charging people. I want to invoice people every time I click a cookie notification. I'm going to pass a law for myself that says it costs $1,000 for me to dismiss any of those.
Yeah. How are you going to collect on that?
I mean, the same way the EU collects on not doing it, like, which is you just mostly don't.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got a little ranty.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. Get it off.
Okay,
Gotta get it off your chest.
Yeah, that's true. Do I feel better? I guess I feel a little better. I wanted to tweet that. I was trying to get the right wording for it, but it's. I think it's better when you can say it and people can hear the frustration. I don't want to have negative tweets, but I guess occasional negative podcast rants are okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Let's wrap it up.
Cool.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Notes of the show.
Notes of the show can be found at artofproductpodcast.com.
Yeah, they can. And have a good one.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.